If your AC isn't cooling like it used to, these are some of the simplest maintenance tips that you can do to actually make a difference. Today, I'm gonna show you 8 maintenance tips and then some that most homeowners can do. Let's get after it. We're gonna start here at the disconnect. This is gonna be the power switch for your outdoor unit. You can turn the system off at the thermostat, but it's still gonna have power going to the outdoor unit. So we have to make sure it's turned off out here to prevent electrical shocks or anything like that. So we're gonna go in here with this particular style. It just pulls right out. That's gonna be the most important thing we do before we ever open the system up. The last thing I wanna tell you before we get started is keep water out of this electrical box. It's as simple as just shutting it back. It's meant to be outside, so. As I'm taking this unit apart, I'm gonna tell you guys some of the biggest problems we have and where they come from. Most problems with your air conditioner start with airflow issues, and it just compounds from there. A lot of what we're gonna see today is some dirt buildup. We're gonna get this thing taken apart and actually see how dirty it is. This first side isn't too bad. There's a little bit of buildup on there, but nothing crazy. Just a little bit of cottonwood buildup here and here. This is pretty typical of a system that's been maintained and it's just starting to get time to maintain it again. A quick visual check that we do on these is we're looking for any grass clippings that have gotten in here, dirt, debris, cottonwood fuzz, anything along those lines. Make sure the long-haired dog or cat isn't laying right next to this thing 24/7. Anything that can really restrict that airflow. So as you can see, I've already taken the hail guards off of this system. What we're doing now is we're just kind of inspecting the coils, making sure they're not stopped up with any cottonwood, any dirt, debris, grass clippings, anything like that. On this side over here, we do have just a little bit of cottonwood buildup. It's nothing major. This is pretty average for a system that we see that's been pretty well maintained. But we are still gonna take the system apart and clean it. So tip number 1, we're gonna wanna make sure the area around the air conditioner is clear of any debris. You know, dumpsters, kids' toys, just weeds, grass, that kind of stuff. The way this system works is air will come in the sides of the system and exit out the top. So the more area around the system that we have clear, the better it's gonna perform. Otherwise, you're gonna have high pressures, hot systems, and an uncomfortable house. We only recommend taking the top off the system if you're comfortable doing so. You know, take pictures of your wiring. You can put stress on this wiring if you don't disconnect it properly. We've already got this one disconnected, so we're just gonna go ahead and pull it right up off the top and set it off to the side. So you can see more cottonwood up under this lip as well, all around the top of the system. That's, again, more stuff we're gonna be cleaning off. As far as like how hard we want the water spraying, we don't recommend that you use a pressure washer on this. We would rather you have it on a kind of fan setting or a soaker setting, and we're gonna wash it from the top down, trying to get everything out from the inside out. We don't wanna bend these coils. They can be fairly fragile. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. At the end of the day, if you don't feel comfortable taking the top off this system, it's perfectly fine to spray it from the outside in. That's better than not doing any maintenance on the system at all. A win is a win on that, and we're not looking to get you guys out of your comfort zone. We wanna make sure you guys are comfortable doing it. I already mentioned it before, but tip number 3 is don't bend the fins. You know, minor bends like this that probably happened in shipping is fine. They do make fin combs that you can comb these things back out, make them look like new again, but minor stuff like that isn't gonna be a huge deal. But if it was the whole side of the system, we would recommend doing a fin comb. These fins can be very delicate. That's why we don't recommend using high pressure water. Just using a simple soak method or a shower head type water hose nozzle is the best route to go on that. Next thing we're going to look at is the suction line on the system right down here. It's the larger copper line. This system has both lines insulated because it's a heat pump. On a standard AC, you only need the suction line insulated. We can see that this one has some sun damage, maybe even some pet damage on it. This is a super cheap and easy fix for a homeowner to do. It's as simple as cutting it off back here, replacing it with another section of insulation, and using some zip ties again. So this will help keep the refrigerant the same temperature from the system to the indoor system. If it's 100 degrees out here and this isn't insulated, it's going to absorb heat from outside and your system's not going to be as efficient. So tip number 4 is check your suction line insulation. This one, with the amount of insulation that's off of that suction line, I wouldn't recommend doing anything with it. It is a quarter size hole in it, and the rest of it still has insulation over it. Tip number 5, replace the air filter. It is something that is probably the easiest thing for the homeowner to do, but also probably the most neglected. If this thing can't breathe, it can't work. Having this clean air filter will make sure that it can breathe as best it can. Let's go change that air filter. Now, with this 1-inch filter, we recommend checking or replacing them monthly. When you go to check your filter, if you can see dirt on it, go ahead and replace it. It's past time. We're gonna get up in here. This filter's nice and open where we can see it. We can see it's got some dirt and dust buildup on it. We're just gonna go ahead and pull it right out. While we're here, we're gonna take a look at that evaporator coil in here. Make sure there's not a lot of buildup on there. There's not. If you haven't noticed, we're in a shop exterior to this home. It's got open ductwork. That's why it's a little easier for us to see. But this all still applies to your home. The more you can check, the more you can see on the system, the better off you're gonna be. So we've got the new filter in there. One thing I see a lot are these arrows on the system, or on the filter. You want them to always be facing towards the system. That is the direction of airflow. It will work better if the arrows are pointed towards the system. Tip number 5, change that air filter, keep it clean. If you see dirt on it, go ahead and replace it. Next thing is we want to make sure all the vents are open. We're not going to have a problem with this return being open since it's a common return for the area. Our supplies are here. These do have grills in them. They're all open. We want to make sure every vent in the house is as open as it can be to promote the best amount of airflow through the system as possible. If we have ducts that are closed, that's going to cause low airflow to rooms, and you can actually damage the system by doing that, causing the system to ice over and then just compound and make the airflow worse. Tip number 6, keep these ducts open. Make sure that we don't have bedrooms closed off. You can shut them a little bit to optimize airflow to a space, but don't ever shut them all the way off. Tip number 7, condensate drains and the condensate pan. We're going to check this drain line, make sure that it is clear of obstructions. We're actually going to blow this one out as well. Now, this is where it can start to get a little intimidating for most homeowners. We're actually going to have to open up this evaporator coil. This one does not have a clean out. But we want to get in here, we want to check the disaster pan, we want to make sure the drain is clear. If this drain isn't clear, it can actually cause the system to shut down if it has the proper safety measures. And while we were up here, we actually noticed this one doesn't. So that's going to be something we're going to recommend to rectify, is getting a pan switch installed in this. Before we go ahead and open this up, we are going to need to make sure that the power is turned off. That way we don't open it up, get our hands stuck into any fans, or we'd hate for somebody to get electrocuted. So most air handlers will actually have a switch, which I'm actually going to have to open this one up because it is wedged right now. Come on. This little semi-clear plastic piece here is typically where your switch is going to be. You can see where the knockout is, and I can actually see the switch back in there, but this metal door is currently in the way. So we're going to carefully move that out of the way, and this will look pretty familiar if you've ever looked into your breaker box. It is just a 60 amp breaker. We'll turn that off. Now we still have power coming through these wires, but we don't have any power going to the rest of the system now. Here we're just going to go ahead and shut that one off so we can reach in here and do what we need to do. Now we're still going to have power on these 2 wires, but past that we're not going to have any power to the system. We've gone ahead and blown the drain out now. Another way you can do this is find where this drain ends. Most of the time in most homes it's going to end in your hot water tank closet. There will be a PVC pipe coming down from the ceiling. You can pop that pipe up out of the drain and use a shop vac and actually vacuum all that out of there. So that is a secondary way of doing this that might be a little easier. Now, why is this important that we blow the drain line out? We want to make sure this drain line is clear because this system, when it's running and cooling, makes water. It dehumidifies the area, and that water's got to go somewhere. And if this drain clogs up, it can cause the system to shut down. It can cause your drywall to get saturated with water if it's up in your attic, and then it could cause your floors to bow if it's in a closet. We want to make sure that that doesn't happen. At the end of the day, if you see water anywhere around this unit, you need to pay attention to it and see where it's coming from. If you think it's coming from the system, call a professional. Thankfully, we have a dry disaster pan under here. This is going to be kind of your saving grace if this does ever overflow into the pan. This is going to be your last line of defense against your drywall. That way, you're not replacing ceilings. All right, so we're back out here at the outdoor system. We've got the side panels put back on. One last thing, whenever we're putting the top panel back on, are these wires. We want to make sure that we get all of these wires from this fan into this little channel here. If we don't, we can cause the motor to short out, cause high repair bills. I see that happen a lot with these systems. This model in particular, since that's a fairly small channel. If you guys are confident enough to go ahead and take the top off, just be sure that you double check and make sure that those wires are back in that channel. That way you guys don't have to see guys like me. Well, we've got the system buttoned back up, and now for tip 8. We want to go ahead and test the system, make sure it's going to run. We want to listen for any loud noises, any oddball sounds that hadn't been making in the years prior, and make sure that when this system is running and cooling, we've got hot air coming out the top here and cold air coming out of the vents inside. All right, before we let you go, we're going to go over some times to call a professional. Now, if we see ice on the lines, anything like that, call a professional. Warm air in the house that's not getting any better, go ahead and call us. If there's any buzzing at the outdoor unit, fans not running when it should be, water leaking at or around the air handler or furnace, call a professional. And lastly, anything refrigerant related. That is not DIY stuff. We don't recommend any homeowner mess with refrigerant. Definitely call a professional. All right, so that's it, guys. Today I've given you 8 tips to help you keep your system running longer and stronger and more efficiently. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe for more content like this. And if you need 5-star service in the Oklahoma City metro area, go ahead and give us a call.
Yarborough